Good afternoon. My name is Michael Kroll. I am the creator of Speedcicleta and the founder of Sapien Ape Games. And today I'd like to give you an idea of how a single game of Speedcicleta will actually play. In the last video, I gave an overview of the various components and what each of those components do. However, I feel like it's important to see those things in action to actually get an idea of how the game is played. I will be releasing a playthrough with 3 or 4 actual players in the near future, but this video should give you a rough idea of how an actual game goes. Alright, now as you can see here, we have 2 players set up, player 1 on the left and player 2 on the right. I will be managing both hands at the same time. And then over here on the actual play area, we have a yellow cyclist for player 1 and a blue cyclist for player 2. Now, as you can see from the starting hand that player 1 has, there are 3 orange cards, and all 3 cards say play immediately. In this case, it is indicating that at the beginning of your turn after drawing a card, you will play one of these cards right away. These are required play cards that will also allow you to do something else. To start, we have to pull a single card from the deck. Pulling a single card, I now have a busted wheel card in addition to the others. I'm going to start off by playing a pedestrian. And you can see from this card, a pedestrian needs to be placed 5 spaces ahead of the lead cyclist. We're both in the same location at this point. However, if we were in different places, then whoever is closest to the finish line is the person that you place it 5 spaces ahead. You can also see from the card that it moves toward the starting line from its placement position at 1 space per round, and this only occurs on the turn of the person who played it. To ensure everybody knows whose cards are whose, these get played directly in front of the player, which is why I'm placing it where I am. Now I'm going to grab the yellow pedestrian figure and count 5 spaces. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, this will move 1 space per round on player 1's turn until it either passes all cyclists or reaches the start. Now, in addition to that, I'm going to play a single move card. This will go in the discard. I'll grab player 1 and move 1, 2, and 3 spaces here. Alright, so you can see now I am down to 5 from my initial starting hand of 6 cards. Next turn I will be pulling 2 cards for player 1. Alright, moving on to player 2. Player 2 also has a play immediately card. This is the Slick Road card. With this one, you can place the token 2 or more spots ahead of yourself. In this case, it'll be 2 or more spots ahead of player 2. If a player has the Cycling Ace card in play, they can ignore the effects of this. Otherwise, any player passing it will need to reduce their move by 1 when doing so. So I'm going to grab the Slick token and go 1, 2. Now, remember, it says 2 plus. I want this to affect player 1 as well, so I'm going to place it directly in front of player 1. And like player 1, player 2 is going to play 3 move. So that puts player 2 in the same location as player 1. And just like with player one. Ooh, you'll notice I forgot to draw a card here. This does happen on occasion. Okay, so just like player one, player two now has 5 cards in hand. So moving back over to player one's going to pull 2 cards. So there's 1 and 2. Now see, I still have additional play immediately cards. So I'm going to go ahead and play the bus card here. And the bus starts on the start tile and moves at 3 spaces per round until it is either past all cyclists and can no longer be passed or reaches the finish line. When the bus moves past players, the players get pushed back unless they're on the side of the road with an affliction on them, which I will demonstrate shortly. And it just occurred to me I forgot to move my pedestrian. So here we go, moving the pedestrian toward the starting line at 1 space per round. Now you'll notice we have both the slick token and the pedestrian on the same space. If either one of these cyclists chooses to go past this space, since each of these items reduces move by 1, they will need at least 3 in order to even move into the space. To move past, they'll need 4 move. Alright, so player 1 gets to play an additional card. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and do 3 move again, and that gives us this placement right here, which is really difficult to get onto. Oops, let's try that again. There we go. Alright, and you'll notice player 1 also has 1 additional play immediately card. Now, in any game, regardless of whether a 2-player or greater game, a single player may only have 2 play immediately cards in play at any given time. So at the beginning of player 1's next turn, if neither one of these has been removed, then this construction site card can be discarded before drawing back up to a total of 7. Alright, so moving on to player 2. Player 2 needs to pull 2 cards. So we'll just do like that, and then move back over here. Player 2 has a lot of move available. Now, player 2 is going to, instead of moving, play a bicycle crash against player 1. Well, I need to move some things around here. Alright, so to play an affliction, of which the bicycle crash is 1, you play that in front of another player. This then hinders the movement of that other player, but it also can have some small benefits. So at this point, player 1 moves off to the side, and that is the end of player 2's turn. Alright, so player 1 is going to move the pedestrian 1 space, and the bus moves 3 spaces. Whoops, I'll fix that in a moment. Pushing player 2 back 1 space. So let's correct the bus. There we go. Alright, and you'll see neither of the mobile obstacles here, the play immediately cards, are out of the way. So player 1 is going to discard the 3rd play immediately card and draw a total of 3 cards to get back up to a total of 7. Now, bicycle crashes can be fixed with a first aid kit. However, player 1 recognizes that if they do that, they're going to get pushed back a spot and have to spend a bunch more move just to get where they're at. So they're going to leave the bicycle crash on them and instead play a busted wheel against player 2. Now, player 2 has an option here. There is something in the game called the coup foray, which allows a player to play a safety card that is related to a specific affliction at the time when that affliction is played. This is an off-turn action, meaning the player does not have to wait for their turn or draw up any cards or anything like that to do this. What happens in this case is player 2 plays the shock absorber, discards that busted wheel, and then also gets to move their bicycle one space ahead. So this effectively negates player 1's turn, but that's what happens. So player 1 has done what they can. They did not get rid of the bicycle crash, but you'll see on the corners of these cards there's these little rotation icons. Those indicate that after or at the end of player's turn, they may rotate that card 90 degrees, and at the end of 4 of these rotations, they can remove the crash and continue on with the game. So I'm going to rotate that one for player 1, and then move on to player 2. So player 2 is now down 2 cards. So once again, drawing 2 cards here. All right, and player 2 pulled a moose, and so we're going to play the moose because that is a play immediately card. All animals have a minimum number of locations that they must be placed ahead of the trailing cyclist, not the lead cyclist in this case. In addition to that, they require a specific number of move to get past. In the case of the moose, that is 4. It does not remove that amount of move. It is only what is required to go past it. And then lastly, the moose will only leave the track when a bus passes it. Otherwise, it remains on the track for the rest of the game, or until all cyclists have passed it. All right, so moving the moose onto the track. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, you'll see on here that there are these little no paw icons, as well as a yellow border. You are not allowed to place animals on any of the intersections. This is just to avoid unnecessary congestion. So instead of placing it there, I will place the moose one space beyond. All right. So player 2 gets to play one additional card, seeing as they will be bumped back if they move into the slick token location. They're instead just going to discard a single card. So that means that they won't have to worry about getting bumped back. They won't have a movement restriction or anything like that as well. So moving back to player 1. Player 1 needs to pull a single card here. And that is a 4 move, but they cannot move because they have a bicycle crash. Oh, I forgot to move the pedestrian and bus. So there goes the pedestrian. And the bus is going to go 1, 2, and 3. Now, if the bus had more move, it would still be required to stop at the intersection. All vehicles must stop at the intersection. And pedestrians actually jog across the intersection, so they only count the intersection as 2 spaces, 1 and then 2. Meanwhile, cyclists, unless equipped with the right-of-way card, count intersections as 3 spaces. So 1, 2 for the middle space, and 3 for the opposite side. Alright, so blue does not have an affliction, so I moved it back into its space. Now, player one, now that it has moved those and the pedestrian can no longer get in the way of either player, the pedestrian can be discarded. So the pedestrian goes away, and player two is going to play a first aid kit to get rid of their affliction. And that is all they can do that turn. So now it's back to player two, and player two has two cards down. So we'll grab those. There we go. No obstacles or anything to move, so player two is going to use this to their advantage. They could actually move all the way to the bus location by playing four move. So that is 1, 2, because the slick token reduces move by 1, and then 3 there, and 4 right there. Now they are right next to the bus, which means that they don't have to worry about the bus pushing them back. They moved into the bus's location, and the bus cannot affect them at this stage. Alright, so moving back to player one is going to move their bus 3 spaces, so 1 for the intersection, 2 for the opposite side, and 3 for the moose. So the moose goes away, and player 2 discards their moose card at the same time. The bus flipped over, so let's fix that. Alright. There is still a chance of being passed, so the bus gets to stay there for a little bit longer. And player one pulls a card. They now have the right-of-way card. And I think we'll go ahead and play that. They don't get to do anything else, but now when it comes to the intersection, they can just blast right through. Oh, and they're no longer on the side of the road. There we go. Alright, so moving back to player two. Need one card. Oops. Player two has a flat tire card. Player two is going to go ahead and move 3 more spaces. So 1, 2, and 3, once again, right next to the bus. Back to player one. Player one's going to move their bus 3 spaces. So we got 1, 2, and 3. And then player one is going to pull a single card. And this time they got a car. So the car is very similar to the bus, but instead of moving at 3 spaces per round, it moves at 4, and it can clear out any animal except for the moose. So in addition to that, player one gets to play another card. In this case, they're going to play 4 move because they need to catch up. So we have 1, 2, now we skip this one because they have the right of way, 3, and 4, and they're right up next to player 2. Moving back over to player 2, need to pull 1 card. And now player 2 sees player 1 as a potential threat, so they're going to throw a flat tire at them. And player 1 has the puncture-proof tire card, which, just like the shock absorbers, can be played as a coup fourré off turn, negating that flat tire and allowing them to move 1 spot. So player 2's plan of stopping player 1 was thwarted. Now player 1 is down 3 cards, so we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. Now you'll see player 1 has 2 safety cards in play, these 2 green ones. But in addition to that, they now have the cycling safety in their hand. in a two-player game, each player may play two safeties, no more. So if player one wants to play the cycling is card, they must discard one of their other two safeties. Oh, and I forgot to move my vehicles again. This is a very common concern. Oh, and look, we're all past the slick token, so that is also going to be discarded. And let's move that bus. 1, 2, and 3. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces away. There's no chance of catching up to the bus now, so the bus also gets discarded. Now player one, having really nothing else to do, is just going to go ahead and move 2 spaces. So player one goes 1 and 2. Now it is player two's turn. They're down 1 card. And they now have a busted wheel that they can play against player one. Now this is important because they know that player one can't negate that busted wheel with another safety. So they're going to go ahead and give this another chance at trying to stop player one and play that busted wheel against them. Alright, then player one is going to move the car, 1 and 2. Remember, they have to stop at the stop sign, so they're going to just chill right there. And then they're going to pull 1 card. Oh my goodness, now they have the animal behaviors card as well. Well, in this case, they're going to go ahead and play the multi-tool card to get rid of that busted wheel. And that is their turn. Player 2 is down 1 card, so we're going to go there. Oh, they got a rough road token, and they're going to stick that right in front of player 1. This is the same as the slick token, but instead of reducing move for everybody but the holder of the cycling is card, this will actually reduce move for everybody except for the holder of the shock absorber card, which in this case is player 2, so this is very much to player 2's advantage. And player 2 gets to play another card, so they're going to play 3 move. They got to catch up here. We got 1, 2, and 3. Alright. Now, player 1 is going to move their car. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4 spaces. It's catching up. And they're going to pull 1 card. And they got a flat tire. Now, they're looking at this rough road, seeing that it's going to reduce their move. They only have move 2 card, but they also see that they have a flat tire. So they're going to throw this flat tire up against player 2. And that's it for player 1. Player 2 is down 2 cards. Then we'll go 1 and 2. Alright, and that is a pedestrian, which if you'll remember starts 5 spaces ahead of lead. They're both in lead at this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that'll move 1 space per round toward the start. Now they can play another card. In this case, they have a flat tire, and they do have a spare tire, so they're going to go ahead and negate that card. Moving back to player 1. Oh, looks like player 2 made a mistake. They're going to get bumped back. So we got 1 and 2 on the card, and player 2 gets pushed back. 3 and 4 on that card. Now the car stays there because they're still within range of, in fact, of both of these bicycles. So it gets to stay for this round. Alright, so player one is down a card. They're going to pull one, flip it over, and they have one card. Now, they're just going to go ahead. Oh, I forgot to move. Forgot to move player one back. So player one's going to go ahead and play that one move and move back up one spot. Alright, now player two is down two cards. Oh, isn't this beautiful? Player two got a four move card. Oh, forgot to move the pedestrian. Yeah, they're going to go ahead and play that because it's to their advantage right now. Well, no, if they do that, they're going to pass the car, get bumped back again. So let's not do that. We'll do a two move. Let's play smart. One and two not affected by the rough road tile, so they're going to stay right there. And now it's back to player one. The car moves one, two, three, and four, and now it's far enough ahead that it can be removed from the track. All right, and player one is down one card, and they get a fox. All right, so the fox needs to be placed 4 spaces or more ahead of the trailing cyclist. So that is 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to go ahead and place it right here. Actually, I like looking at the fox, so I'll put it right there. And they can play an additional card. In this case, they're going to go and play the two move card. That will put them right on this same tile. If I can get them there. There we go. In that same spot. Alright, and back to player two. Player two has a pedestrian which moves 1 space, and they're down 1 card. Now, they just pulled the truck card, which is basically the same as the car, but they already have 2 additional play immediately cards, so they can actually immediately discard that and pull a new one. Alright, so now they're up to 7. And they're going to go ahead and play the 4 move card. So that is 1, and oh, there's a pedestrian in the way, so they don't have the right-of-way card, which means they have to reduce their move by 1 when passing a pedestrian. So we have 1, 2, and 3, and then 4 right there. In other words, 3 spaces. Alright, so moving back to player 1. Player one is down to 5 cards and has no moving obstacles, so they're going to pull 2 cards. And seeing as the pedestrian is right there, oh wait, they have the right-of-way card. They're going to play 2 and move 2 spots, 1 and 2, to land right next to that pedestrian. Alright, so moving back to player 2, that pedestrian moves 1 space. It is now past all players, and all players are now past that rough road. So both of these may now be discarded. And player 2 is down 1 card. And they pull 3 move. They don't really have anything else that they can do, so they're going to go ahead and play that 3 move card. 1, 2, and 3. Alright. Back to player 1. They're down 1 card. They have a busted wheel card, but they can't play it against the other player because the other player has the shock absorbers. See, it says no busted wheels. So they're at a bit of a disadvantage here. They only have 1 move right here. They are past pedestrians and intersection, so they're going to play the animal behaviorist card instead. This doesn't move them, but it does mean that they don't have to worry about that fox when they get there. Alright, and it's back to player 2's turn. Player 2 is going to pull a card. Another 3 move. Well, they can't play 3 move. Or can they? Oh, they can. The fox requires 3 or more move to pass. In this case, pass means that a player may actually land on its spot. You cannot do that with the moose, but you can do that with the fox, deer, or squirrel. So player 2 is going to play their 3 move card and go 1, 2, and 3, and then that fox goes away. And now player 1 is very upset because they just played that animal behaviorist card. And now there's no animals to worry about. So they're almost done. They're not happy with the situation. 1 move left. Let's see what happens for them. 1 card. Oh, and all they get is a single move. And now it's back to player 2, who pulls a single card, and it is 1 move, which gets them to the finish tile. And that's it. That is roughly how you play a game of Speedcicleta. There are some caveats to note. We have an 8-tile track minus the start and finish. Normal game of Speedcicleta is 12 tiles plus the start and finish. However, if you do want to play a quicker game, you can, of course, pull fewer. The fewest we recommend is 8 tiles plus the start and finish. Lower than that, it just doesn't feel like there's enough space to really feel the game. So let us know what you think in the comments, and if you'd like to join us for a game of Speedcicleta, please reach out either in the comments or direct message. We'd be happy to have you. Thanks. Have a great day.